So what we decided that what were we trying to do? We were trying to look at the Tearfund response to HIV as outlined in the strategy document. GAMOS has focused on how to improve the efficiency, effectiveness, sustainability and impact of that of the Tearfund response to HIV. But what we've realised in our latest discussions with Vina and the HIV unit is that actually they're very focused on the validity and relevance of the Tearfund response to the Tearfund mission and in fact to integral mission, the whole church mobilisation. So coming up here, what we've actually focused on impact is putting in some CAP knowledge, attitude and practice baselines, and we've established those in Ethiopia, Malawi and Kenya, and we've been talking with Vina about putting them in before Christmas in Mozambique, Cote d'Ivoire and Russia. I'll come back to that in a minute. We're also, in terms of sustainability and efficiency, we've put in a partner progression tool, which on space on the whiteboard I had to come over here, and we've put that into Ethiopia and Malawi. The Nigerian partners have mainly filled it in, the Kenyan PEPFAR partners have filled it in, and the Uganda work with Alice, the latest group who are dealing with children's concerns, have also filled them in and sent them to us. So we have a selection there. And the other thing we've done in terms of efficiency is we've had a look-see at the finance and structures. And in terms of effectiveness, we're looking to mid-term evaluations of various people. And so we're about to do a mid-term evaluation of Malawi and Ethiopia Irish Aid programme. Kenya, the PEPFAR will have a mid-term evaluation, and we need to look at some other MICA reports to see what's going on. Now, all of that focuses on improving the effectiveness, efficiency, sustainability and impact, but we said that we have realised that Tearfund is very interested in the validity and relevance of their response, and so to some extent we captured that in the peer commentary, so interviews with DFID, with UNAIDS, etc., and their commentary on Tearfund. And we also captured it in the partner commentary, so we phoned and interviewed lots of partners and said how do they feel about Tearfund. We're also just about to undertake the CPA review, which is an internal consultation on where Tearfund has been in this response and where it should go, particularly in terms of internal structures. So, what else do we have here? In terms of the cap, as I said, we've put some of these in places, but what we now need to do is cut it down a little bit, and we've identified some questions that we didn't use in the analysis, so they could be taken out. But also we need to assess whether, for this World Bank research, it needs to come down even further. However, what we have agreed is that we don't want to keep making lots and lots of different versions of caps, because the whole added value and advantage is to have a single cap across Tearfund so that we can compare different partners, countries, etc. And the progress, it makes it cheaper and cheaper if you're not redesigning the cap every 10 minutes. What we will do is generate a cap process document, what we've already learnt in terms of getting partners to run out the cap and apply the cap. But we also need some CAP learning documents from these 3 countries where there are good, solid data. And we have produced learning documents, but we're not convinced that the partners are really reading them. Plus, they haven't widely circulated throughout Tearfund. And that brings us back to a more key point, which is that having done much of this work, we're aware that we're short of learning. And how do we feed this stuff forward to country reps? How do we engage in dialogue with partners in actually to do lesson learning? And we wondered about web space. TILS is there, but how many partners actually look at TILS? We're still not sure. Publications, yes, we can publish stuff. We know that peer agencies love Tearfund publications, but we also know that partners don't read them. So how do we actually get them in front of people? That may be personalised emails, or it may include video or audio presentations. In terms of looking at the finance and structures, we need to revisit it next year, but also we need to try and work out some ways of getting data regularly from policy or media. In terms of these midterm evaluations, we need perhaps something like a meta-analysis of the MICA reports, rolling out, in terms of activities that still need to be done, we need to roll out more of the partner progression tool to other countries. In fact, Nigel pointed out that when he was looking at the finances, many countries that are not within the 16 have actually increased their spending on HIV. It'd be good to find out from the MICA reporting what they are actually doing, and maybe make some comparison between countries that are the focus of the HIV unit and countries that are not the focus. And finally, we asked ourselves the questions: how do we know that our recommendations are actually influencing behaviour? And we need to look at that again. In terms of our own learning, we asked ourselves the question: how do we know that our recommendations are actually influencing behaviour of partners in Tearfund? We need to examine that in 2011, and we'd like to actually document some of our learnings soon, so that Vina and whoever succeeds Vina has it on record what we're aiming at, what we're trying to get to. So that's that was the morning's worth of mind mapping. Red are activities that we need to do now, and blue is some dates of when we will revisit those activities, and finish. And in brainstorming some of the smaller documents, so a sort of 6 to 8 page document on how does knowledge affect the behaviours, where the behaviours are voluntary counselling, testing, PMTCT, sexual activity and care of the orphans and vulnerable. We could look at how knowledge affects behaviour. We could look at stigma affects behaviour. Those are 6 to 8 pages. We could look at what actually people do in terms of voluntary counselling and testing and PMTCT, being aware that the number of men attending the clinic during pregnancy was much higher than everybody expected. We could look at stigma and church attendance. One of the niche areas is that stigma is a driver or barrier to many behaviours. So we could look at how does the church, do church people really have more stigma or less stigma than the community? And that leads on to maybe a different paper about mobilising the church. At the moment, these CAP data tell us very much what churches are currently doing, what their attendance rates are like, and whether there's a difference between people who attend infrequently and frequently. We could have a look at that. And possibly a final paper on sexual behaviour. Now,